anymore. So before I let him explain who he is, I just got to go on this because I was like so impressed. You were like, I'll just send you a little bit. And I was like, this is not a little bit. You have put some work in and to make you. So I'm going to go through it. So your song played all 10 days in the national finals rodeo in Las Vegas, which is cool. I remember going to the rodeo. Like I actually lived in Oklahoma, Tulsa, Oklahoma. That was a big rodeo state. Those were fun. We talk about the energy of a crowd. That's a fun. Your songs have been in a movie. You have like crazy YouTube hits, 2 million, just 2 million or something like that. 4 albums. You played on Fox. You've written with some like super well-known artists. And if I know their names, that means that probably everybody does. You've played in top venues, and you are still putting together new albums, writing songs, doing your jam. So there is my whoa, dude, you're pretty cool. Intro for myself. I got to say, like, I'm very impressed. Thank you for all of your artistic abilities and doing that. But who is Dustin in a nutshell? Who is Dustin to us? You tell me.
Well, I got a lot of values, that's for sure. I was raised in a Christian background. I guess my family growing up, my dad was played in Nashville all through the 80s and early 90s. He played full time as a dobro player at a place called the Bluegrass Inn. So I have like a big bluegrass background. But my mom was actually a disc jockey at a radio station.
Really?
And, she was in a homeless shelter too at one point. And but anyway, I have those values in my life. But we started, everybody in my family plays something. So as a kid growing up, if you didn't play an instrument, then you were pretty much left out of what was going on.
You better join in or go cry in a corner.
Exactly. So, it took a while for me to, figure that out. But, as a teenager, most teenagers grow up different, but it was always music with us, so it gave us something other than getting in trouble. So, but yeah, we jumped right in. So I just started writing songs at an early age, like in my, I guess, early 20s. As soon as I learned how to play guitar, that's what I wanted to do. So, and me and my cousin Trinity and my brother and one of his friends started a rock band. My older brothers and cousins, they were always playing like 80s rock and hair band music and stuff like that. So we were growing up looking up to them. So we just naturally had to do rock at first. But I guess the drive behind what I do is we had a gig on New Year's Eve one night, and it was my cousin's bar in Mount Pleasant, and my other cousin Trinity, he was my lead guitarist. But anyway, he got killed in an accident that night on New Year's Eve. And of course, he was my lead guitarist. So from that point on, I just didn't want him to die in vain. So that was my drive. That's why I kept writing and kept just pushing it all the way, because that's what he wanted to do. And we were just so focused on that's what we were going to be. We were going to be rock stars,
Yeah.
I kind of fluctuated in the country because rock really wasn't, it was kind of a weird time in the music industry. You were going from grunge to harder rock to the 80s bands were gone, like Poison and stuff. That's over with. So then you're in the grunge stage with Nirvana and stuff like that, which I grew up listening to, like Alice in Chains, my total favorite band of all. So then, of course, I grew up with Garth Brooks and this bluegrass background. So I kind of just went into the country music scene thinking, well, that's actually, steady and it's paying money too, so
important.
A lot more money to be country. But not only that, I grew up with my dad on a farm, too. So I kind of, my parents were divorced at the time. So I was with my mom, in the city, and then with my dad on the farm. So I kind of got the best of both worlds. So I guess that's where my writing started. Just I got this life has been big adventure for me. So I
Man,
write about just about anything.
it
So
really sounds like it. And I love that you're living out the legacy of your cousin. Like,
yeah,
people always say, like, what legacy do you want to leave behind? And sometimes when our life is taken so fast and when we're young, there really isn't much of a legacy there. You haven't built it yet. So for you, like, I have goosebumps, my gosh. So for you to take that on and give him that legacy and kind of create that for the family and just for his soul, like, wow,
yeah,
that says a lot about you. Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Everybody out there, you take a lesson. If you don't think you have a legacy within yourself, you can take on somebody else's till you have your own. I never thought about that with legacy, but I will tell my friends, I've told my coaching anybody, when you don't have the strength, you take mine. When you don't have your belief in yourself, you take mine and you can borrow it till you get yours. And doesn't that transfer into a legacy?
Yeah, sure does. And it's not just that. It's my dad passed away in 2015, or yeah, 2014, like 3 days after Christmas. My mom dies the very next year, a couple of weeks after Christmas. So with her being a radio disc jockey, and then him
Yeah.
being full-time musician, so it's just kind of like, so I'm
Is
carrying
it
on some
healing?
legacy, it seems like so.
Yeah. Does it seem like it's healing for you? Do parts of them, kind of all three of them or whoever else do come out when you do that, when you're writing or singing?
Definitely. I don't really write silly songs. A lot of people out there, they write, hey, I'm sitting in the back of my truck, I'm going down to the pond. That ain't me. It's every song has got to mean something to me.
Mhm.
It's got to have some kind of lesson or something in it, or I'm not going to waste my time with it. So yeah, and I think I get that from my parents and from, my experiences in life. So it just comes out in me.
It comes
I've
out in your,
interviews before that sometimes I don't even think I'm coming up with the words. I think they're just flowing through me from somewhere else.
you
So
know, I
a
think
lot
that
of times it's like I'm not writing that song. God's writing that song, because He wants. That's my main focus is to reach out. I wasn't even worried about money or becoming a big star. My main goal is to reach out and touch somebody and pull them back from that ledge, or anything that I can do to help somebody. And that
right.
I get definitely from my mom, because like I told you before, she was running a homeless shelter. She had like, no, it's crazy because she had like 19 people that she was taking care of, and taking them to get jobs and stuff like that. And then I think her funding cut, the city's funding got cut off. She ended up moving all those people in with us, me and my little brother. And there was like 19 people living with us, and we were little kids, and we were like, everybody like helped each other and cooked and cleaned, and my mom would run them everywhere to try to get jobs, and it was crazy. She was a very loving woman trying to do something for the world. So yeah,
That is more than just a loving woman. That's a woman that puts her money where her mouth is. Some people would be like, oh, we have no funding. I'm sorry, guys. I'll come and bring you a sandwich out on the street or, eventually forget about you. She's like, nope, come meet my boys.
right, exactly. She moved them all in, 19 different people. I'll never forget it, man.
How could you ever forget that? And you just you big old family.
Something else. She was something else. That's for sure.
She was, and you know what? That just you continuing on. You are continuing on. You might not be moving 19 people into your house, but I think it is you opening up your heart, letting God speak through you, because I think He does. Sometimes, when you get those, I get it when people, I'll be interviewed. I will be the one interviewed, and I talk, and I'm like, I don't even know where they came from. I'm a genius. My gosh. I'm like, that had nothing to do with what is inside here. That came from somewhere else. So, boy, oh boy, I want to say hey to Michelle's out there. Skip's out there. Skip said you are a great guy. He can't wait to follow you. Skip Thompson. You'll see him. He's a pretty cool guy, and Andrew's out there. So going back to to your writing, I want to talk about that because I was thinking of so many things, not just about how you write, but are there times when you're performing that it just overwhelms you? Like you kind of see your writing in a whole new way, or maybe it's the energy from the crowd and you get hit with like a new emotion that you didn't even know existed.
Yeah, definitely. I've got lost, that's for sure, and especially when you're hitting a top vocal and the crowd's out there dancing. And I mean, I noticed that in a couple of our shows back when I had a band called Buck Six, and they're still playing there. I actually ended up getting with my brothers and cousins and my older ones that were in the 80s band.
Yeah.
But got with them and we started doing, it was a band called Buck Six. But anyway, I noticed on stage, after a couple of shows, we were selling out crowds. And I mean, we got the highest attendance record at this place called Mama's Country. It used to be called Big Jim's, but out there going towards Lewisburg, a little bit south of Nashville. But there were times on stage where I would literally get lost, and we're sitting there doing like a 4-hour set, and we're doing nothing but my songs. And these people are dancing and having a great time. And then, you hit a slow song, and people are up there, and they never leave the dance floor. And I was able to hold them for like 2 or 3 hours straight, and it was just without any cover songs, So that's when I realized, wow, if I can hold a 4-hour show with people with just my music, that said something else, man. It was probably the best feeling in the world,
That's one of
But
those little sprinkles.
I've actually got lost in it, man, and sweat just pouring off. And I mean, it's the greatest high ever, that's for sure. So I have definitely got lost in it. But yeah.
Do you think, I have a question about that. Was there during that time, because that is a specific memory that you has hit home and stayed within in you. Were you were you questioning yourself, or were you going through a hard time personally around that time when you had this overwhelming, like, oh my gosh, I just held the audience for that long? But in your personal life, was it maybe not so great?
Well, my personal life, just ever since I was a kid, there's always something been wrong. I don't know if it's because I'm Irish or because I'm a Craig, but something's always been wrong, So I even got a song that I wrote called "What You Call Hell." I actually changed it and made it into a Bull Rider song, but it was like some of the lyrics are like, "What you call hell, I've always called home. Ain't nothing wrong until something else goes wrong." So yeah, there's always been something, bad going on in my life that I've had to deal with, but I've always got the music to pull me out of that. So
yeah, I questioned it because sometimes I feel like when we're overly struggling, or we're, questioning our something selves, God gives us a little gift, and like that night was a little gift for you that says to you, you are doing the right thing. You are on the right path. Do not stop. Do not give up. So that's kind of where that question came from. Because sometimes right before success, majority of people just throw up their hands because they get a challenge of some sort. And it's usually like a personal challenge or something negative from an external factor. And they don't see those little blessings that they're given, like that night. So that's why I was asking that.
I've actually, you say all these blessings, I've actually walked away from a couple of record deals just because I didn't feel like it was the right time, the right thing to do. There's to me, I'm blessed with these fans and stuff on YouTube, and when I put out a song, I'll look at the comments, and it's just like, wow, that song touched me. Wrote a song about just a barrel racer, some girl in the rodeo, and I get these comments all the time. Wow, I was ready to give up. My horse died, and this song made me want to get back in the saddle, and or this other song I wrote called Sunday Morning Prayers. I'll get comments coming back to me going, man, you just saved my life. I was ready to commit suicide. And it's just like, wow, that's exactly why I do this. I don't care about the money. I don't care about making it famous. I just like to write and touch people. So if I do get blessed with some money or become famous one of these days, I know that's not my goal, and I'm pretty content with just being able to reach somebody. So
I think
definitely get
when
through my music in some form of fashion, you know.
I think what that day when you do become super famous, where everyone knows your name, it just all that is going to mean is, yeah, you're going to have the money, you're going to have everything that comes with the fame. But I think that is just, you're going to be hitting that many more people, right? So you're hitting all these people now. It's just going to be an overflood of those gifts that you have, that changing, that pulling people out from the bottom. That's what it's going to stick. Because sometimes you can look
What's
at
cool?
people.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
What's cool is, you know, on I look at my iTunes and it tells you, you know, all the people that's downloading your songs and where they're downloading them from. And ever since 2012, you know, I've got money in the bank every single month, and it hasn't stopped ever since I released my first album. And I go sometimes and I look at the people that are downloading it, and I'm getting people from like China, Russia, New Zealand, and I'm like, who are these people and why are they listening to little old me in Tennessee, you know? But it's amazing. Australia, I had two girls from Australia actually fly down here to Nashville just to meet me because they were opening up a store one time. And it was like a kind of like a TSC, kind of like a farm supply store. But they
Okay.
were wanting to bring back some of my music to Australia in CD form. So instead of you know, having me mail them the CDs, they actually fly down here just to meet me and stuff. So yeah, that I mean, it's just stuff like that all the time, and it's just like, wow, it blows my mind. You know, so just when you don't think you're famous, you may just be famous, maybe maybe in small fashion, but you know, but yeah. One time I had this producer call me up. His name was oh, what's his name? He's a big rock producer. Um, I can't think of his name right now, but anyway, he called me up. Malcolm Springer is his
Okay.
name. Big rock producer. He's won awards for producing rock, and he called me up and he said, "Hey man, I'd like you to come visit my studio up in here in Nashville." And I said, "Okay, cool." He gave me a date and time. I showed up there and he showed me around the studio, and then the next thing at the end of the night, I looked at him. I was like, "So what's this about, man?" You know, I didn't know if he was just trying to sell me on the studio.
Right.
He said, "Well, you know, I talked to I guess it was a lead singer from oh, let me think. Well, he said John Rich and the lead singer from Rio Speedwagon had reached out asking who this Dustin Craig kid is." And he was like, "At that point, you got to make a phone call." And I was just like, oh wow. So evidently they're looking at me and they've been watching me. I think it's just a different era in music now. I think they want you to build it up yourself, you know, and you know, put money into yourself and put, you know, everything into yourself before they actually reach out and grab you. But it's like nowadays, even like with Luke Combs and or Combs and people like that, you know, they're doing it on their own, and then they get so big, you ain't got no choice but to sign them at that point, you know. So
Right.
it's,
Oh,
it's a crazy time in music, I think.
I did not realize that. So have the industry kind of gotten lazy and putting it on the
I think
artists,
so.
or are they weeding out, seeing who's tough?
It could be a list of numerous things, but I know it's changed. I know it's definitely changed since, you know, early 2000. You know, you got people like Luke Combs, and you know they're out there touring and they're making money. You know, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the main thing. These artists, you know, they build up, they get a big fan base, and on YouTube, you know, you get 10 million hits on YouTube and go viral with one video that you produced and made yourself. And these, I mean, they got it. They got no choice but to turn their head because that's money out of their pocket. that they're
Right.
not making. So yeah, so I
Interesting.
think it's got a lot to do with that. Not only that, just like Twitter and all your other social media things,
Yeah.
So
Isn't
yeah,
that,
and
isn't
I
that
don't
interesting?
know if it's true, but I think the record labels actually come up with iTunes because record sales. Nobody goes out and buys a physical CD anymore. It all went digital. So you got you got artists uploading their music like me to iTunes, and there you go. So that's how the record labels are making money now. Because they come up with that iTunes and the whole Napster come out. And they had
Right.
no choice but to compete with Napster. So it kind of goes back to that. So yeah, I think just the whole music industry's changed in the last 10 years. We all know that. So,
Yeah.
but
That's,
yeah, I'm hoping vinyl's going to come back in a big way because I'd love to have a record, an actual record.
we can go for that. That would be that, maybe that'll be what like sets you apart. That'll make you go
Yeah,
viral.
that would be cool. Yeah.
Can you even get an album made? That'd be cool. I would buy it. I don't even have a record player. Actually, I'd have to borrow it from my daughter. Because she is, they sell them now. It's cool to have a record player if you're a teenager. I mean, she's 20 now, but I remember buying her one when she was 17. I'd buy your record because that'd be badass. And then I'd have you sign it when I see you in September, and I'll put it on my office wall. Okay, this has to happen. If anybody's out there that knows how to make records, I love this idea. For me personally, I think it'll catch on.
I think Jack White. I think Jack White has a record company that he actually makes those actual vinyl records. Jack White from the you know who Jack White is.
No, but I'm writing it down.
He actually has a
I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna find out if I can start my own little Dustin Craig record fan club. Okay, so Justin Richards, he's out on the West Coast. He's in Seattle. He says he used to DJ. They're still out there. He doesn't know where. Justin, I'm putting you on it. You're the man. You're gonna figure out how to get this record done. I have faith. So I have two questions because I'm running over time a little bit. But the first one is, what would you say holds your passion? Like for Justin Craig, what holds your passion? Because it's hard, especially now. Like you were just saying, it's different.
Well, I mean, I guess it just all goes back to the music. I mean, that's what it's about. There's times where I'm just, I'm in bed and I have some lyrics come through me and I'm just like, man, it'll drive me nuts if I don't just get up right then and write down the song. There's a lot that drives me. I mean, I can't just tell you a specific thing, but just my family background, my mother, my dad, just how the fans, how they react to my music. I mean, it's something that I want to do till I die. So if I'm up on stage and have a heart attack, that would be wonderful.
That is it.
Just go out doing what you love, just like a race car driver. That's how, or a guy riding a bull, that's what they love to do. And that's, that'd be awesome. So not to say I want to die at any time soon, but
right. But
I definitely don't want to die.
No, that's not happening. But you have a huge heart. You can see, and I can feel it. I can feel it, and it's funny because when I was listening to your stuff beforehand, I was like, you can always tell somebody. That's why I ask, like, what's someone's favorite song, or if they're an artist, I like to listen to them because you get to know a lot from somebody by knowing what they like, or especially if they're an artist, listening to their music. You almost feel a little bit of them, and you definitely, everything you're saying makes perfect sense because I've listened to your music. So if you haven't listened to it, you'll be in the inner circle after you do. You'll understand, everybody out there. But my last and final question I ask everybody, it's my favorite question in the world because it changes me every time. Because this question, the answer to it personally evolves and morphs and changes all the time too. So What right now in this day, as Dustin, as you're sitting here, what does love mean to you? What does the word love mean to you?
Love. It's definitely unconditional. I'll go to that word when you say love.
Unconditional.
I think just, people can tell you I love you all day long, but I think you actually have to physically show somebody that you love them. What love means to me is the little things. I guess
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing I can come up with off the top of my head.
It's
Just doing
always
the
what
little
first
things right.
comes. It's the first thing. If you think too hard, you cloud it out and it becomes distorted. But it's like that first impression, that unconditional. I think that's what it is. That
Right,
was it.
and that goes along with little things in life that you
Mhm.
do for somebody. Like I wrote a song one time called "Penny for Your Thoughts," and it's where this guy actually walks up to a man that's sitting on a bench and he's wearing an army coat, and it's like he hands him a little money, and it's just like that guy was a Vietnam veteran. That's why he's like he is, and that's why he's sitting on that bench. So I think it's all about the little things in life that we do that actually shows love, and I think that's my idea of love.
It is because we don't know those little things that just come natural. And man, they can change. Like you said, they can change somebody in a second.
That even a song. So,
Yep. It is. Oh, well, Dustin, thank you so much for sharing who you are. You surprised the bejeebus out of me. I always love that. I always get surprised because I don't know what I'm going to get, but man, thank you for sharing, this time with us. And I will harass you so that you come and see me, or I'll come and see you when I'm there in September, because now we're family. Sorry. It works that way. All right. For everybody out there, as always, love hard, love pure, and love true. Till next time.